Hey guys, welcome to Monday Mindset Mojo. It's so good having you here today. I'm looking forward to a thrilling conversation with some crowdsourced wisdom. I've got my coffee going. I hope you guys have your coffee going. Today we're going to be talking to Zach Goodman, and Zach is a servant leader. He's the founder of Impact Nation. We've got Jason on, and Jason is going to be sharing some really, really amazing things with us today about his account on X and all the wonderful things that he does. Real life transformation, real time transformation, building up from rock bottom success. And then finally, we also have Konrad at More Life Wizard. What a wonderful account Konrad has on X. He's a mindset and business coach, human design. He's a hypnosis expert. And guys, that's just right up my field. So we're going to have a great panel discussion. Welcome, guys. Glad you guys are here. And I'm drinking, by the way, this morning, I'm drinking my Freudian sips. And what is Freudian sips? Well, Freudian sips is when you say one thing, but you mean your mother. You say one thing, but you mean your mother. So I hope you guys have something tasty to drink during our show today. And we're going to talk about how to train your brain for success. We're going to talk about some high performance mindset hacks for entrepreneurs and leaders, how to rewire your thoughts so that you can better come back from setbacks. And hey, what are some of these guys' secret habits to being resilient, ultra successful people? And finally, why does community and accountability, what is it about community and accountability that are really, really game changers? So I want to get started here with Zach. And Zach, tell us a bit about your background and what you do on X.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So, my name is Zach Goodman, and what I promote on X is about men's health, mindset, being true to yourself, being aligned to your values, whether it's on the masculine side, whether it's on the feminine side, kind of be who you are and continue to strive better, doing the best that you can. So, providing some tips, some habits of how we can transform our life, be scholars of life, to impact people around us, and just to do the best that we can in life.
Yeah, and I really love that. That's one of the reasons why I want to have Zach on here is I looked at his account and I said, here's a young man that is really making a difference. And what's so amazing about that are there are people my age that are still waiting to make a difference. They're still waiting for to do something. And Zach is just out there getting it, getting busy, and getting it done. Well, Zach, thank you for getting here or being here today. Let's go to Jason. Jason, tell us a bit about what you do on X.
Uh, I talk a lot about my fitness journey and just my overall journey in life. I've made a lot of poor life choices that actually in 2011, I wound up passing away for about 7 minutes. I was resuscitated by paramedics after having a stroke, and I suffered a traumatic brain injury. And it took me even years past that to start really working on solving my health problems. And what I learned when I did start working on my physical health is that my mental health and my financial health were struggling as well. So I'm learning how to fix those along the way and learning to own my mistakes and turn them into life lessons versus leaving them as a mistake and celebrating my wins when they happen.
Man, that is so impressive. I think one of the things that I see the most of in broken relationships and broken homes and just broken lives is the opposite of what you're doing, and that is owning your mistakes. So thank you for being here. And Conrad was here, well, last week, I guess it was last week or the week before last. Conrad's been a guest before.
Mhm.
Is my volume okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, yeah. So, see, on these things, you just never know how you sound to people. So, you take responsibility and you check out how you sound to people. It's a good lesson for life. But, Conrad, tell us about what you do on X and what your expertise lies in.
Well, I love helping people have the most fulfilling life. In a way, what I've seen so often is that people sometimes strive for things that aren't even all that important to them. Maybe they were told that something should be important for them. Maybe they were told that they should be a different person. But in the end, we see that people succeed, and I mean succeed in capital letters, when they are actually themselves, when they truly align with their purpose, when they truly align with that flow, that is only theirs, doing things that only they can deliver for the world, for the other people, for themselves. And this is where people truly start to excel. And so I'm here to help people do exactly that. I do it using a selection of various methods and tools and otherwise. But in the end, it's the journey that is important. The journey that leads a person to wisdom. Over to you, Heath.
Yeah, it's really amazing. It is about the journey. I think that I often quote this, and I think that this is from Thomas Edison. Everybody wants success, but they wouldn't know it if it jumped up and bit them, because it comes covered in sweat and dressed in coveralls, and it's called work. Covered in sweat, dressed in coveralls, and it's called work. And so I have a lot of young people that come here. I have a home-based office, and they'll say, "Hey, I want what you have," and I'll challenge that, and I'll say, "I don't think you really do." I think that what you really want to do is lay around on the couch and stream, TV shows and play video games all day long and eat Cheetos or whatever. But what you're really wanting, success, doesn't come. I've never heard somebody give a success talk on a stage anywhere. Like a TED talk that said, "I owe my success to Cheetos," or whatever. It's really getting up and doing the hard work. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys some of your top success hacks. But on that point, let's talk about, what do you think that in no certain order, we'll just kind of share the mic equally, guys. But what do you think that you found in your life really holds people back from success?
I am my own biggest obstacle most of the time. And that's something that I'm personally working on. And what I mean by that is I can't get out of my own head sometimes. I strive for a level of perfection, and I get frustrated with myself when I don't hit it. So I've been learning how to work within the bounds of my own ability, and learning how to mentally prepare myself for when something doesn't go right versus um, beating myself up, actually taking the time to look at why it didn't go right, figure out why it didn't, and then work on resolving why it didn't go right so I can make progress till I hit that goal.
Yeah, I mean, so when you suffered that terrible, brain injury, for one, I can't imagine that that's such an impressive thing that you came back from that. But what was one of the biggest steps that you found was necessary to really get ahead of that? And it seems like you just didn't give up. Would be a big one, just not giving up.
That is true. Every time I fall, I do get back up. I've always said I will get back up one more time than I've fallen, and I'm going to keep marching towards my goals. One thing that I've had to do is retrain myself in a lot of ways. Simple, basic tasks, build routines. Routines are very instrumental when your brain's not working properly, because once you get a routine going, it's much easier to wake up in the morning, make your bed, go make your breakfast, go get ready to do your day, do your things, and then at night have a routine that you make sure your dishes are done before you go to bed, you brush your teeth, and you go to bed. So it's having routines within the day that actually help throughout the rest of the day.
Man, you're speaking my language. The dishes and the bed making. The brain is all about patterns, folks, and you develop that pattern. I say that initially, any and all behavior that's repeated over time begins with meaning, and then there's repetition, and that repetition leads to a discipline of doing it. You're kind of not having to focus on it as much, and then that leads to a habit. It's all about developing these habitual patterns. What about you, Zach, how have you really kind of kept your mind focused in the right direction? And again, what is so different about you at your age and so many other people at your age? Where, and I'm not trying to blow your head up or anything, but you're just kind of head and shoulders above the rest of them out there.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm head and shoulders above everybody. I would just say, taking life lessons and understanding that life is a journey, not a sprint. And kind of to the earlier point is what really helps me in keeping my life aligned is really taking time to write down your values. Like, what do you really value and why do you value it? Because that's going to lead into the how and to the what. As a famous book by Simon Sinek says, start with why. Whereas really that we need this purpose, cause, and belief to really go forward with life. So kind of the questions become, why do you want a better life? How would a better life benefit you? And are you willing to not compare yourself to someone else's journey, but be inspired by them? So often we get so jealous or envious of people because, man, like, look at that guy. That guy's got his life all together, but they don't see the behind the scenes. It's like a movie. You see all the bloopers, everyone's having a good time, but you don't see that it took 1,000 takes for one good scene. That was maybe 5 seconds. So it's really being intentional about focusing on like one good habit at a time. Because I think so many people get really hard on themselves that they're like, I got to completely change my whole life because my whole life is crap. Versus what's one thing you can start improving, make gradual adjustments today. So that way we can make a 180-degree change in our lives and understand that words have power, words have meaning, especially when you kind of talk out loud to yourself about what those are. So sometimes what helps me process is just taking time just to think, whether I talk aloud or have that internal thought process, so we can kind of clear your mind by focusing one thing at a time, not trying to cram 30 years into changing everything that you've set up, maybe not the best habits, maybe some good ones. However, not being consistent and disciplined, since motivation comes and go, discipline stays the course.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Well, Conrad, I want to go to you and ask you. So with the hypnosis thing, you really help people burst through some barriers. And so, what are some of those barriers that you find people running into that seem to be most stubborn?
Oh, that's a great question. From what I've seen, it's very individual, down to a person. Okay, it's usually something from the family of origin. Those things that those people were said repeatedly as children that set in, they took root, and suddenly became that person's waking reality. And it can be anything and everything, meaning that which we would call, limiting beliefs of their parents, of their family members, and so on, that got internalized. They were literally internalized when that person was younger, and they might not even realize just that. They think that, their current life experience has to be the way it is because they were born for that. And from a certain perspective, yes, that is the case. However, very, very often, when we do some exploration, it turns out that certain themes run in the family of a given person. It's just that habitually people do and say certain things that then became the reality of a given person. And once we then start to explore and investigate, it turns out that yes, some of these things can be really serving that person. Some of them can be very beneficial. However, some of those mind stories, there might be actually quite detrimental. They might be getting in the way of that which we would call progress. And this is where I like, hypnosis a lot and, super conscious work, because this is the way to rewire ourselves, rewire that software so that one can actually replace that which is obsolete and not working any longer for the betterment of the given person with some new, fresh programs, so to speak, new ways of thinking that super quickly become habitual. And this is what I love that hypnotic aspect for, because it allows us to build habits in record time. And I mean record time. This is way beyond just us using our waking awareness, hoping that things will set in sooner or later, this is literally a shortcut so that we can build that lifestyle that we want, but fully, transcendentally, by creating those habits that last very quickly, one by one. And as we know, when things get difficult, we tend to fall down to that floor of our habits, right? This is actually where we perform at our core. What we do when we don't feel well is that habitual floor. And if we can raise it just a bit, and maybe a bit more, that means that our performance, even when we are feeling low, is already exceptional in comparison to many other people. And well, this is one of the gateways to a life that is so thrilling, exciting, successful, and fulfilling that really one just gets up early in the morning, in the zone, in the flow, wanting to live.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. I've never looked at it that way, but you're absolutely right that we really do fall to the floor of our habits. So if you guys want a great takeaway for this today, then and Bard, yeah, Bard picked right up on it. Take this tip from Konrad and identify what that floor is. And here's a tip from me, and I try to do this myself. That is, I do have a lot of habits. Most are good, some not. Yeah, even we clinicians have some poor habits. But here I think is a great way to level up, and that is when, as Conrad pointed out, you're not feeling well. You've got a stuffy nose. I had one of those the other day. It's Arkansas, as they say. If you don't like the weather, wait around, it'll change. And so one day here, it'll be 70 degrees, and 2 days later, it'll be 20. My sinuses just can't keep up. It's crazy. And so one of the things that I will do is when I'm feeling at near my worst is the best time to lift the weights of life. When you're feeling at your worst is the best time to, if it's bed making, get that bed made, because you're really getting your money's worth. When I go to the gym, I will ask myself, is this really, absolutely the last rep you can get? Because the most valuable rep is not the second, third, fourth, or fifth. The most valuable rep is that last rep, where that is really the last rep you can do. You gain more strength from that than any of the other 8, 9, or 10 reps. So those other 8, 9, or 10 reps, let's just say you're going to get 12. The first 11, well, you've just gotten those out of the way so you can get that golden rep, that final rep, that rep number 12 if you're going for 12. And if you told yourself, I'm going to get 12, and you get 12, that doesn't mean it's time to stop. If you get 12, you should ask yourself, yeah, but can I get a 13th? Am I really going to quit before I get every last ounce of effort out? And so I think that golden rep of life really ties into what Konrad said, that it's really easy to get up and go and win when you're woo-woo, ha-ha, fuzzy-wuzzy on top of the world. But that's not the best time. The best time is when your feet hurt and your back hurts and your head hurts and you haven't slept well the night before, and there's 10 or 12 or 15 to-dos. My wife will say, I've got 1,000 things to do. That's kind of a naughty thing to tell your brain. No one has 1,000 things to do. You really light up your fight or flight mechanisms when you're catastrophizing, saying, I have 1,000 things to do. No, you may have more to do than what you'd like. And then, hey, Bard put up the golden rep of life. Hey, it's a song title. Yeah, Bard, you're going to write that song for us, and Conrad's going to sing it. We'll be the chorus. But the golden rep of life. And so, hey there, Richard. Good to see you here. By the way, I really appreciate the interaction in the chat. If you guys have a question for the panel or myself, drop it in the chat. We'll put it up on screen. We're glad to answer it. If you're getting something in particular useful out of this, tell us what that is. We'll give you more of that. We're back here every Monday morning at 7 o'clock. If you're an influencer, you have a story to tell, we'd love to get you on stage right with these guys, you know. So just send me a DM on X. I'd love to get you on here. But let's move ahead here and dig into how to build some of that resilience and how to stay motivated. So let me start off by giving you guys a little bit of psychology about motivation. Motivation is not a feeling. If motivation is a feeling, you're going to lose it every time you get diarrhea, right? And so motivation is not based on an event, situation, circumstance. It's not based on an emotion. Pull apart the word motivation. And a lot of you that follow me, you know this, but motivation, the key word being motive. Motivation is having a motive, having a reason to do something. So when you get out of bed in the morning, if you have a reason to get out of bed at a certain time, you're more likely to get out of bed at that time because you're not looking for a feeling to show up. You're just showing up for the purpose that you've already defined in your life as important. This morning, for me, that was 4:30. I'm not saying you got to get up at 4:30, but I get up at 4:30 because I got things to do. You know, I've got this live stream to put on, and I've got reports to do, and I have people waiting on me and counting on me and asking me for things, and so I want to serve them and get a head start on the day. And so I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and then by the time I go to bed, I'm really, really tired, but then my mind, my brain, my body is ready for bed. And so one of the ways to stay motivated is to differentiate motivation from feelings: sad, mad, glad, disgusted, ashamed, stressed, depressed, anxious, angry. And yes, Bard says that motivation begets locomotion. I love that, man. Bard, what a name. You know, you're right on top of those aphorisms this morning. You know, I can see the musician in you. But yes, motivation begets locomotion. And so the best way to get moving is to have a reason to do that. Viktor Frankl would say, if you have a why to do a thing, the how will take care of itself. But let's flip that on its head. I could give you 1,000 hows to do a thing. You might want to say, well, I want to learn how to lose weight. Well, that's great, but what's your reason for wanting to lose weight? You might say, well, I want to get up at the time you get up. I want to write a book. I want to be an influencer. I want to learn. As I look at behind Jason, he's got some musical instruments back there. I want to learn how to play one of Jason's guitars, as we say in Arkansas. Well, you're never going to do that unless you have a reason to do that, a motive to do that, a why to do that. So another thing that I hope you take out of this live stream this morning is to really get that why to do something chiseled down. And the more finely you chisel that down and sculpt that why, the more likely you are to do it. And so I'm going to go around the room here and ask these guys, what is your why? What is your why for doing the things that you do? And we're going to go to Zach here and see what Zach has to say.
Also, one of my favorite things to really talk about is the why. So for me, my why is to be a servant leader. So that means putting others before yourselves, always being there to help someone in need, offering encouragement, and keeping your mouth from unwholesome talk. So no gossiping, no talking ill about people, because you never know who's around you. And so in being a light and trying to be aligned to the values is always to be honest, loyal, and to always be encouraging to someone in need.
I love that. I love that so much. And you know, the good book says that we'll be held accountable for every idle word that we speak. Now, let me put a twist on that, though. But of course, I'm a believer. No offense to anybody that's not, but I believe in a creator. Just my belief system. But and I love reading the scriptures. Read them every day. I think a lot of ancient wisdom in there. But we'll be held accountable for every idle word that we speak. Now, most people hear that as, I shouldn't be talking naughty about other people. Well, yeah, I agree with that. If, you know, Granny Meeks would say, Granny Elsie My grandmother would say, if you can't say something good about somebody, don't say anything at all. But I think that's only half of the story. I think it also has to do with what we tell ourselves, what we say to ourselves, what we give ourselves permission to do, and permission to think. So I think that accountability for that, for the words that we say, first start inside the cranium, inside that precious vault of your skull, which, it's a vault, it's a safe, it holds your greatest treasure. What is your greatest treasure? Well, your mind, and as an extension, your mindset. Mindset Mojo. Welcome. Thank you for being here. That's what we're here to talk about. And so, Zach, thank you so very much. And let's head over to Jason. Jason, what is what's your why, my friend?
Well, for me, I'm on bonus time, as I like to say. I was dead and gone, and I was resuscitated. So for me, my why is to be able to share my story and help others. And to me, if my story helps one person, it was all worth it. So I live by my core principles, and that's something that I've had to learn over the last few years. And I live to help others. And when I find I help others, I live a more fulfilled life than I did before I figured out what my core principles were and why the decisions I was making weren't actually working out for me. So finding finding that accountability within me to make the better choices and to share what I went through and why they didn't work is very fulfilling to me. I feel like I'm the wealthiest person in the world by the way I live.
Oh my goodness, Jason, that is incredible. That is incredible. Yeah, I would give you an applause. I got my mic here in front of me, but yeah, thank you so much. I heard a long time ago. I didn't make this up. I just heard it, but I use it frequently. Is never waste a hurt. Never waste a hurt. So if you have a hurt, you can sit around and moan and gripe and complain about it for the rest of your life, or you can invest that hurt and get a huge return on investment out of it. And I'm not talking about getting on social media and, just ad nauseum, ruminating on all the terrible things that have happened to you. I've had lots of really tragic things in my life. I'll mention them every now and then, but I mention them if I think that others listening can get some use out of it. Now, I really appreciate Jason being willing to share his story, because what Jason is sharing with you guys is the power of getting up and doing something, and he said that he always gets back up. And every one of you have an opportunity to get back up every single morning. Get out of bed at the same time. Do the same things every morning. Have the same routine. There is power in that routine, and finding value in the smallest of things, or the things that you think are the smallest. Michael Thomas Jr., thanks for being here. You have a question? Drop it in the chat. But if your question is about motivation, Bart has already answered that. Motivation begets locomotion. So you guys get out there and get moving today. I'd like to go to Konrad. Konrad, how did you decide to get into hypnosis, and what's your why for doing what you do?
Well, I was looking for something that can actually speed up the journey, let's say. If there is any speeding up of the journey, I'm on the lookout for shortcuts. I'm on the lookout to see the invisible, so to speak. That's why I also got into, human design and numerology and other aspects that can be used, other tools that can be used to help a person progress. I've done my work, and I'm still work in progress, but my big why, or maybe let me put it this way, my big why is to help other people know themselves. Know thyself can be so powerful and transcendental. And so I am very much about that personal empowerment. Helping people understand what they do and why, but actually, what is driving their actions? Why do they do those little and big things? Because there's going to be a why. Very often we think that we just do things because it's Monday, because it's July, because of the identity that we think we have. or attach importance to. But in many cases, it's actually there is this realization that something is driving that process. There is some line of reasoning, decision making that is leading a person to actually say yes to certain things and no to other things. And that creates a super unique life experience. Out of billions of expressions of how we can live our life, my friends, every single one of us utilizes those 24 hours a day uniquely. Uniquely. Okay? Super uniquely, I would even say. Every single waking hour and minute and second we spend uniquely. And now, if we know why we do certain things, we can then make a choice. Okay, do I want to keep it or not? Do I want to replace it with something upgraded, different, better, or not? And once we know why we do those things, it's so way easier to actually create that next level lifestyle. Because in a way, it's less about just treating the symptom. Just try to do something slightly better. It's actually transcendentally better to go straight for the cause. Why am I doing those things daily? But really. And once we know that, that's a place of power. This is where we are powerful. This is where we can make those big decisions. Do I want to keep it in my life or not? And if I don't, there are ways to upgrade it. There really are. But this really works best when we get to the origin, when we get to the source of a given habit or habitual way of doing or saying something. And once we get to that source, the energy is released. This is where we actually can make that lasting change, make a better choice, and create something that will stick. Because so often when we only try to treat the symptom, our work doesn't last. It's like those New Year resolutions. They just don't last. Not only is it the wrong time of the year for resolutions, because winter, 1st of January is the middle of hibernation. There is no growth energy just yet. That's why it's way better to make those resolutions in the early spring. This is where the energy is different. This is where the nature awakens. This is a way better moment for resolutions as such. But perhaps just to wrap it up here, when we only try to treat the symptoms, our treatments might not work. Because in a way, we are just shifting the energy from left to the right and from the right to the left. But that's it. It's still not the clear-cut, clean energy of progress, of ourselves, of authenticity, of personal power. We are just trying to scramble something so that the life gets slightly better. However, when we actually tap to the essence of the process, we understand ourselves, we know thyself, this is where we can make a last and meaningful change that truly upgrades our performance from there on. And that's why I love what I do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Bart asked a question, Zach or Jason, that you can jump in and answer here. Asking why about mundane things that allows for regular time audits. Time audits. How are you investing your time? Time really is the most precious commodity. Elon Musk that owns the X platform, even though he's now, close to, if not already, the richest man that already lived, he cannot manufacture more time. He can make lots of cars and rockets and dig holes with a boring company and all that, but he can't buy more time. And so Bart asks, I wonder how this interfaces with opportunity cost and of making one choice over another. What do you think, Zach?
Well, that really comes to prioritizing. And then it comes to navigating really what is something that's feasible. So when we want to really improve our lives, we have to focus on what's the most important part of our life. If it's brushing your teeth day and night, then it's brushing your teeth and developing those systems, those reminders. So maybe doing a call out and reminding yourself, I owe it to myself to brush my teeth, to take care of my health. That way you kind of follow up with a why, and we can prioritize what's most important to you, especially as we start small. A lot of times people want to start big and, like, let's say go to the gym 3 hours a day, but then you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to get exhausted. So sometimes when we make the task too difficult, we lose that motivation, right? We lose that locomotive of that engine running and choo choo choo. So we want to find something that's not too easy, not too difficult, what we like to call like in the middle path, something just right, like Goldilocks. So really take time to audit your life and focus on what habits you have and have established, and at the same time, what's something a little bit difficult you want to do, and giving it like a time frame. So maybe working out at the gym for a half hour, like 2 to 5 times. So when we work in ranges, that's what really helps us not get to that black and white thing and that all or nothing. Because what happens a lot of time with how people can lose that track, that locomotive motivation, is when we hold ourselves to this absolute. So if we don't work out 5 times in a row, and we said we're going to work out 5 times in a row, we feel like a failure if we did it 3 times. Versus, let's just make things reasonable, make things manageable. And most of the time, I found out working in a range helps. So going to the gym 2 to 5 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. That's how those things are naturally set up, because that's what helps us to stay on track. So that way, if you worked out 3 times, like, hey, all right, I was within my range, my goal, and I can do it. So that's what I would give. Prioritize and work in a range.
Working a range, prioritize working a range, and I would recommend starting low, going slow. Don't get out there and say I'm going to run
Right.
26.2 miles a marathon. I'm going to go work out a marathon workout. You can get a good workout in if you know what you're doing. I mean, look it up. If you need some tips, send me a DM. Join my Mindset Masterclass. We talk about this stuff all the time. School.com/mindset. School is SKOOL, SKOOL.com/mindset. Free memberships given away. We talk about these things all the time. I'll give you a great workout program. My workout program is nightly. It takes me under 10 minutes to work a body part like chest or delts or biceps or triceps, under 10 minutes. I do a kind of a Mike Mentor style heavy duty drop set workout. And there's always a way to get things done. Saying I don't have enough time is really an excuse. And so get out there. And Konrad talked about rewriting your script. I really love the thought about rewriting your script. And so at this point, let's talk about how that takes place as part of a community, as part of accountability and growth, and how you can bring on others and give them permission to support you. And by the way, support is not always a hug or a back rub. Sometimes support is really, really kind of fine-toothed and on edge, and is anything but a back rub. But let's go to Jason and talk about here and we're going to close up here at the top of the hour, guys. So if you have a question, put that in the chat. We would love to hear from you. And we're going to talk now about, the power of community and accountability and how that works in your life, Jason.
Just
So
quick,
for me,
sorry, Jason. Just real quick, I do have to get going. So thank you for having me on here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Zach. We really appreciate you, my friend. We'll catch you next time. You guys take a look at Zach's account. Thanks so much. Jason, go ahead.
So for me, I look at time as an investment, and I also look at investing my time in others. There's many people who start a fitness journey that have nobody in their corner pulling for them. So I become their accountability buddy. And what that means is I'm there when they're struggling. I'm there when they're winning. I'm there when they have questions and they can reach out and talk to me. I find it to be a good investment of my time to invest in others because it helps me look at myself as well. And it helps me invest in myself and go and look at what I'm saying to others and go, well, yeah, I do those things too. And I like to lead by example. I'll never do something that, or I'll never tell somebody to do something I personally wouldn't do. I also only ever suggest to people what the right path is. I'm not here to decide how to live your life for you. I will offer advice, and it's free for you to use. Whether you decide to invest your time wisely in yourself and others, that's for you to decide. It's for me to decide how I invest my time, and I have a particular use for. So that's my thoughts.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Conrad, what about you? What do you how do you include community in accountability, motivation, kind of keeping you on track?
Well, that's one of those things that is so precious, right? Having that support of other people, it can really be transcendental, especially when we are going through that roller coaster, when we are trialing out the new things, right? When we are embracing change. This is where having those other people who are loving us beyond conditions, who are just creating that space, this is what can really lead to a whole new model of life. And these days, for example, I'm leaning so much more towards working with people's lifestyles, because this is where we can really help ourselves also to create that next level experience. And as it turns out, in those big and little everyday moments, we find our own truth. We find out what works and what doesn't. And having that other person, for example, that we know we can connect with. It can be a whole community. It can be just, another person, coach, accountability buddy, or otherwise. It can truly be so freeing by creating that space in which we can grow into, so to speak, knowing that it's all good. There is no judgment. There is safety. We can share our inner process, which I find to be quite transcendental. I mean, it's so good to say to somebody that we are not feeling, for example, our best. Today, we might be feeling 2 out of 10. And if we can find somebody who is maybe not a family member, maybe not even a close friend, somebody who is emotionally not connected with the situation, who is not vested, who doesn't have any vested interest, this is where we can have that very open conversation. And we can actually speak it out, whatever it is that is going on within, for the benefit of the process itself. So, communities are great for that. We can share our journey, right? We can share that experience. And this is what I found quite interestingly late in life, that by sharing with other people, we actually vastly speed up, let's say, our journey. By connecting openly with other people, we actually release that energy. It's so way better than keeping it within, which for some people or some families or some neighborhoods, it can be like a pattern, ongoing pattern. Keeping things within, men shouldn't be talking about emotions, right? As parents, we should be like this or like that. And all those things, they can actually be quite self-restrictive. But if we find those other people, for example, with whom we can be so open, we don't have to play the game, I should be the mother, I should be the father, I should be the coach, I should be this person. Not at all. When we can allow ourselves to unravel and be truly ourselves in front of another person, when we investigate our shadow states, when we aren't actually having the best of experiences, this exactly is the perfect moment, my friends, to connect with another person. That's exactly the moment when we should even be connecting with other people very often, rather than keeping things to ourselves and suffer in silence. If there is any suffering to be had, as they say, problem shared is problem halved. So especially when we don't feel at 100% capacity, this is a perfect time to connect with those other people, even if it's just one person, even if it's just, for example, Jason. Do connect with Jason, speak to Jason. He will create that space for you to open up about what's going on within and in a way release that energy. So it's not stuck within. It doesn't become subconscious. Because what's unexpressed for a long time might become that subconscious process. It might just sink into the subconscious processor and in a way become a bigger pattern in life. This is, for example, where people venture into the realm of, anger management or otherwise, because they aren't expressing what's going on a regular basis. Over to you.
I love that. All of these things, guys, we're talking about really do flow from the subconscious and the unconscious. Now, the way I differentiate that is there are things in your spotlight of awareness. You know what they are. You can name them. You hear the sound of my voice. It's not a hallucination, an auditory hallucination. You see Jason and Konrad there. They're also not figments of your imagination. You really see them. That's in the spotlight of your attention. That is up here at the top of the screen. And then below that, way down toward the bottom, kind of at that periphery, is the subconscious, things that you aren't thinking about now, but which you could fairly easily become aware of. Like whether your socks or the shoes on your feet, or if you've gotten dressed yet, you're wearing underwear unless you're going commando today or something. And so there are things that can be brought into the spotlight. And then Konrad, I don't know if you guys caught it, talked about the shadow state or shadow work. Carl Jung talked about shadow work. And what that is are the things that are really unknown about ourselves. I put a finer edge on that. Things that we can know, but we may choose not to know, or things we don't know that our unconscious has not yet revealed to us. And so I put on my account many times, I'll just kind of pull up a picture here of what your subconscious looks like. It's really a bunch of layers. It's a bunch of descending layers, and we recess things, we subliminate those things down to the very bottom. It's beautiful, isn't it? Well, the things from the bottom are where that shadow work is. And so in order to do that, you have to give yourself permission. Really, you have to give your unconscious permission to let you know about those things. One of my favorite quotes from Jung, I said often, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will continue to run our lives, and we'll call it fate. So I was in a debate yesterday that the young lady was talking about how she was manipulated and gaslit and controlled and all those kind of things. Look, I welcome you to think and believe whatever you want to believe. But as long as you believe that, you're giving up your power. The way to take back your power is to have the belief, which is a true belief. There's about a dozen or so neurological mechanisms that prevent that from happening, that prevent me from being able to woo-woo, reach in and control Jason's neurons where he sends me all of his guitars or something in the mail. And so that would have to be a decision that he makes. So what we're encouraging you to do today is take possession of your own meaning-based life. What am I going to decide in my life has the greatest meaning? And what am I going to do, not to sound like the old Twisted Sister video, what am I going to do with my life? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google Twisted Sister, and that's the most famous video that they did. I saw it back when I was a teenager. And so realize and take control of your own responsibility. Your greatest ability is your responsibility. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here in a few minutes, so if you have questions, go ahead and put it on screen. Richard is talking about how January and February used to be when he would get his chest waders out and go fishing on days over 32 degrees. And he said he doesn't do that anymore. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of those body hardening activities. One of the greatest things you can do in your life is pick things that are difficult and lean into those. Expose yourself to things that are hard and lean into those. Challenge your own thoughts, challenge your own conclusions. I love what Bard said also. I'll put it back up here on the screen. I hadn't thought about this song in years. Um, well, that's not the one. I'll get it there. But he talked about, gosh, Bard, where's your quote? Oh, here it is. Chumbawamba, of course, Chumbawamba. I didn't even forgot the name of the group. Jason knows exactly who that is. I get knocked down, but I get up again. And
Oh
Jason
yeah.
probably, yeah, go ahead, Jason.
A better song that I use is "Fear" by Blue October. It is literally my theme song.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'll have to look that one up. Blocktober, Block, Blocktober.
Uh, Blue October,
Oh, Blue
BLUE.
October.
Yeah,
Blue October. Well, that's easy to remember. You guys look that up. And it's called what again?
"Fear."
Oh, well, that's easy enough. That's easy enough. And so get a theme song, guys. Make it your slogan in life. My slogan is simply two words. The second word has four syllables, and it's simply I'm unstoppable. I don't turn over that responsibility to anybody else. I don't blame things that go wrong in my life on other people, on nature, on physics. Put yourself in the driver's seat because you really are. There's so much disabling talk. That person did that to me, and this person's blocking me and sabotaging me and traumatizing me and gaslighting me and manipulating me and controlling me. Well, look, you're not a freaking robot. You don't have your circuits don't work that way. Believe me, if circuitry worked that way, then we would teach this to people getting a degree in teacher education so that they'd be able to go into second, third grade classrooms and the kids would never misbehave. The kids would never get out of their seats. The kids would always eat their lunch. They would always do their homework. And they would always be star students because we would manipulate or gaslight them into doing that. Well, since we can't do that, that's why you see second grade teachers that are frazzled. They're pulling their hair out because that can't happen. Listen, if manipulating and controlling and all that kind of thing were possible, don't you think that the governments of the world, namely Russia and Putin, would have already used that on Ukraine and they would have laid their arms down? But since they can't do that, and so listen what Viktor Frankl said, everything can be taken from a person. Everything, 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 but the last and the greatest of all things, the power to choose your own thoughts. And I often challenge people that come and sit on my couch when they say that they've been manipulated or controlled. I would say, you were in a Nazi prisoner of war camp, a concentration camp. Oh, no, no, no. You were in something worse than that? Oh, no, no, no. Well, how is it that Viktor Frankl could survive along with a lot of his compatriots when the Nazis had guns on them and doing terrible things and to their families and them, and they still would not say that another person can control my thoughts? Well, because they can't. Take your power back. Don't drink the social media Kool-Aid of disempowerment. Grab a hold of your life like Jason did, like Konrad has, with both hands, and like Zach has at such a young age with both hands, and get out there and make something happen. Again, we're going to wrap up here in just moments. So if you have a question, put it here. Oh, Bard put up another post here. I love this. Pretty sure my theme song is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I loved learning how to spell that when I was a kid. Mary Poppins, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. If you say it loud enough, it's really quite atrocious or something like that. But what a wonderful word. Give yourself difficult things to say, especially difficult words. They're one of my favorite things. So I'm going to go back to our guests here today. We'll start with Konrad, and then we'll go to Jason, just kind of wrapping it up. What's just a life-affirming thing that we can leave our audience with today? Konrad,
Awesome.
go
Well,
right ahead.
that's a fine question. Now, somehow synchronistically, I would like to invite everybody to allow yourself, my friends, for a reset. The past doesn't matter any longer. The past doesn't bind you any longer. You are just you today, right here, right now, as you are. And you can choose whatever you want in your life. Yes, some things might take longer than others, but you were born to succeed in every area of your life. And it's just a matter of making the choice. Because once you make that choice, your own subconscious mind and the world will help you get to where you want to be. It really is more about choosing the what, and then the how becomes possible by itself. So today, you can choose to enter that space of clear water. The past doesn't exist as such. What happened, happened. It maybe had to happen. It's fine. But what will you do with your life from today? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, guys, it's all up to you. And thank you so much, Conrad. What a wonderful personality. What a wonderful young man, full of knowledge and wisdom. And finally, Jason, what's something, an affirmation that we can leave our folks with today?
You know, I look at life and adversity as a life test. Some people never get past a particular test in life, and others are able to pass it with flying colors, and some take longer and they have to keep taking that same test over and over and they eventually pass it. What it comes down to is our history is full of life lessons as long as we take the time to look through our history and figure out what works, what doesn't, and what we can use to move forward in life versus what we're using to hold ourselves in place. I don't want to sit stagnant and sit by and watch my life go by me and not have any input on what's happening. I'm the main character in my own life. I'm not the NPC any longer. I allowed a lot of horrible things to happen throughout my life. And eventually, I was able to grow strong enough to say, I don't accept this anymore. I walked out on a marriage. I walked out on jobs. I walked out on toxic situations because I won't allow people to treat me a particular way. If you want to hold me back, then you're no longer at my table.
I love that, and I'm putting up here in the chat what he said. Since if I can get it to register, be not an NPC, be not a non-player character. Uh, you're the one with the joystick, the controller, the joystick in your hand. So go out there and add some joy to your life by taking control of your life. You know, the joystick's been there all along. You know, don't pretend that someone else can take it over for you. Don't pretend that somebody else is running your life. You are in charge of your choices. Well, guys, it's the top of the hour. It's been a lovely conversation. We are back here every Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Actually, I stream this live through my X account at therapy_bites. It's streamed on my Facebook page. It's streamed on my LinkedIn page. And of course, all the episodes are stored on my YouTube page, Therapy Bites. Just look me up over there. Jason, Konrad, man, I don't know what to say, but thank you. Thank you for being such a stellar example of what is possible in life. You guys go out, have a great day, take ownership of your day, take ownership of your life, and we'll see you right here next time. Bye bye now.